very good evening and a very warm welcome to today's session. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fine and amazingly well, taking good care of yourself and your loved ones. नमस्कार, सत श्री अकाल, bonjour, आदाब, बहुत स्वागत है आपका आज के सेशन में with me Ankana, your social science expert at Embibe. और आज का टॉपिक काफी इंटरेस्टिंग होने वाला है. We actually ended at a very interesting note yesterday. हम बात कर रहे थे कि कैसे एक रेशियल हायरार्की स्टैब्लिश कर ली थी आपके हिटलर ने, और उसी के साथ हमने ये भी समझा था कि नाजिज्म एग्जैक्टली होता क्या है. नाजिज्म इज नॉट एग्जैक्टली द फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट बट द आइडियोलॉजी दैट दे यूज्ड टू फॉलो. तो आज उसी का कंटिन्यूएशन करेंगे हम इस सेशन के साथ, वेयर वी विल टॉक अबाउट द यूथ कल्ट एंड यू नो द हाउ द यूथ वर हाँ जी. तो मैं बता रही थी कि कल हम बात कर रहे थे कि कैसे नाजिज्म वर्क करता है. नाजिज्म एग्जैक्टली क्या होता है? ये एक आइडियोलॉजी है. इट्स नॉट नेसेसरली द फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट दैट वी रेफर टू. एंड एट द सेम टाइम वी ऑल्सो स्पोक अबाउट कि एक सवाल जो हमारे सबके दिमाग में आता है, क्वेश्चन दैट पॉप्स अप इन ऑल ऑफ आवर हेड्स, विच इज how did people support Hitler? How did Hitler get them to support him when he was doing something so heinous, a crime where he was killing everyone? तो आज समझते हैं कि यूथ कैसे पार्टिसिपेट करता था, यूथ ने क्यों स्टैंड नहीं लिया, एंड व्हाट वाज द कल्ट ऑफ मदरहुड, हाउ वाज ही persuading people to help him out or maybe to support him. Okay, the mic is fine now. Okay, great. Okay, so on that note, I just want to say hi to everyone. Also, please make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know that we are live over here. Guys, we have covered the First World War, birth of Weimar Republic, the political and economic crisis that happened after the First World War, rise of Hitler, fall of democracy भी देख लिया है, उनकी economic foreign policy भी देख ली है, establishment of racial जो state था वो थोड़ा सा अंडरस्टैंड करेंगे, यूथ नाजी एंड नाजी कल्ट ऑफ मदरहुड, ये तीनों ही चीजें आज एक्चुअली हम एक्सप्लोर करने वाले हैं. विद इन दैट विल बी फर्स्ट डिस्कसिंग द रेशियल एस्टैब्लिशमेंट मोर इन डिटेल, देन विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट द स्कूलिंग इन नाजी जर्मनी, द यूथ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, व्हाट वाज द रोल ऑफ द वुमेन एंड व्हाट डिड द क्रॉस ऑफ ऑनर मेंट फॉर द मदर्स, हाउ एंड व्हाई वाज इट इंपॉर्टेंट. सो I think there's some disturbance with mic. Just give me a quick second. I'll fix it and be back. Okay guys, so we are back. I hope there's no more disturbance. ठीक है, आप लोगों को सही से सुनाई दे रहा है? Please let me know in the chat. So I just quickly want to go ahead and say hi to everyone. Hi Gauranshi, hi Elena, hi Tarun, Dr. Jupiter. I'm really glad to hear that. Hi Dhairya, I'm absolutely fine. How are you? Hi Gauranshi, Tarun B, and who else do we have? जल्दी जल्दी hi बोल दो. Hi Shubhra, मैम. ऑफ कोर्स शुभ्रा, ये चैप्टर कल फिनिश हो जाएगा. कल नहीं एक्चुअली, टुमारो अगेन देयर इज अ बंद, सो वी वोंट बी एबल टू हैव द सेशन. विल हैव टू मूव इट टू यू नो 3rd of October. अभी दिख रहा होगा तरुण, अभी दिख रहा होगा, है ना? जा 3rd को पेपर है. एलिना, एक वन शॉट है जो यूट्यूब पे भी किया हुआ है, आप उसको देख सकते हो हमारे चैनल पे. ठीक है, चलो हाय मनीष, वेलकम टू द सेशन। और जो भी बच्चे हैं हाय बोल दो, तो मैं आपको हाय बोल दूंगी। चलो एक रीकैप से शुरू करते हैं। हमने कल पढ़ा था कि नाजी ने पूरा डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिया था डेमोक्रेसी। हमने देखा, कन्विंस किया एक सूडो साइंटिफिक थ्योरी पे, और फिर एक सिस्टमैटिक तरीके से एलिमिनेट किया जा रहा था ज्यूज को, जिप्सीज को, एनीवन दे बिलीव जो रेशियल हायरार्की में नीचे बिलोंग करते थे। उस रेशियल हायरार्की में कौन कौन थे और कैसे उनको एलिमिनेट किया गया, क्यों किया गया, वो आज समझेंगे। इन फेजेस को हमें आज एक्सप्लोर करना है और ज्यादा डिटेल में, ठीक है। So in 1933, the German boys as young as 14 were actually required to become the members of a group that were known as Hitler Youth. Hitler Youth नाम का एक ग्रुप ही बना दिया था। ये प्रिपरेशन में था, ये तैयारी में था। Tarun, that's really awesome. French Revolution और drainage videos. You saw the French Revolution and drainage videos. French Revolution तो हमने यहाँ भी पूरा डिटेल में किया है, ठीक है। तो थोड़ी माइक में डिस्टर्बेंस फिर से आ गई थी, कुछ आज टेक्निकल ग्लिच था, बट हमने इसको कर लिया है सॉर्ट। मोस्ट प्रोबेबली अगर आपको कहीं पे भी कोई प्रॉब्लम आती है तो आप बता देना, ठीक है। सो एज आई वाज सेइंग, व्हाई वर पीपल राइट फ्रॉम द एज ऑफ 14, 14 साल, मात्र 14 साल की उम्र से क्यों क्यों पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे थे लोग ऐसी चीजों में? इतने छोटे छोटे बच्चों को लेकर के क्यों चाह रहे थे? व्हाई सच यंग बॉयज वर बीइंग मेड जॉइन ग्रुप्स लाइक हिटलर यूथ? बिकॉज दिस वाज द प्रिपरेशन फॉर फ्यूचर। ये फ्यूचर की तैयारी थी, ठीक है। दे वर सपोज टू जॉइन द नाजी आर्मी। तो बचपन से माइंड वॉश करोगे तो लोग तैयार रहेंगे, जिसका नाम था वेरमार्क, ठीक है। उस आर्मी को ज्वाइन करने वाले थे। द इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन प्रिपेयर देम फिजिकली एंड मेंटली टू फुलफिल हिटलर्स मास्टर प्लान। तो हिटलर का क्या प्लान था? बीइंग अग्रेसिव, हैविंग द आर्मी, पीपल ज्वाइनिंग द आर्मी। इसके लिए बचपन से जो है मेंटली आपको प्रिपेयर करना, माइंड वॉच करना बहुत जरूरी होता है। दैट्स एग्जैक्टली व्हाट हिटलर वाज डूइंग बाय मेकिंग देम जॉइन दिस, so that they would not just be prepared physically but also mentally to accept Hitler as their leader and his ideologies as the correct one that they would want to follow and fight for, ठीक है। So this is a story of institutionalization of hatred by an entire nation. पूरे नेशन को ऐसे इंस्टीट्यूशन में चेंज कर दिया गया, ऐसा माइंड वॉश कर दिया गया that people were going to hate certain people, be ready to fight all the time. Now who were they going to hate? We understood that he created a racial hierarchy and he prepared that based on a pseudo-scientific theory, like a false theory. Who created that theory? कहाँ से आया वो समझते हैं। But who did he believe to be on the top of this hierarchy? इस hierarchy के top में according to Hitler कौन आते थे? Nordic Aryans आते थे। We have already seen this yesterday. He believed, who were the Nordic Aryans? Features की अगर बात की जाए, racial features की बात की जाए, तो they usually have blonde hair, blue eyes, टॉल स्टेचर्स, लंबे होना, शार्प फीचर्स होना, ऐसी सारे रिकग्निशन थी। ये टॉप पे आते थे। ज्यूज को बिल्कुल बॉटम में रखा था और इसलिए एलिमिनेट भी कर रहे थे और आर्च एनिमीज माना था आर्यंस का। ऐसा कह दिया था कि हमेशा से ही दुश्मनी चलते आ रही है, इनको तो होना ही नहीं चाहिए। एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दिस इज व्हाई द ज्यूज वर बीइंग ट्रबल्ड सो मच। लॉट ऑफ यू हैव बीन आस्किंग, मैम ज्यूज को क्यों ट्रबल कर रहे थे, क्या टारगेट कर रहे थे, क्या करना चाहते थे? तो बच्चों, उनसे उनकी सारी जमीनें, सारे एसेट्स ले लिए गए थे और उनको एक जगह पे आइसोलेट करके रखा जाता था। उनके लिए स्पेसिफिक जगह बना दी गई थी। अ स्पेसिफिक प्लेस वाज डेजिग्नेटेड वेयर दे वर सपोज्ड टू स्टे एंड दीज प्लेसेस वर नोन एज गेटोज। दिस वाज बेसिकली एन आइसोलेशन व्हिच मींस दे वर कट आउट फ्रॉम द रेस्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। पूरी दुनिया से उनको काट कर अलग रख दिया कि यू आर नॉट सपोज्ड टू बी, यू डोंट डिजर्व टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस वर्ल्ड, ओके। दे वर टॉर्चर्ड, मर्सिलेसली एग्जीक्यूटेड। We have seen not just in Poland, because we read in the previous session, right, कि Poland occupy कर लिया था Germans ने, and also other parts of Europe, wherever they had control, this mass killing, genocide का मतलब मैंने आपको कल बताया है, mass killing होती है, mass murder, mass killing. This mass killing where huge number of people were killed, especially the Jews, is known as Holocaust, ठीक है। Now the point is, अगर Nordic Aryans top पे हैं, if they were at the top, who else's were there Who else was there in the hierarchy and who were at the bottom? कौन कौन से लोग उनको लगा कि सबसे बुरे हैं, एग्जिस्ट नहीं कर सकते, फिट नहीं है, अच्छा रेस नहीं है. So under this came various non-Aryan racial groups, जहाँ पे आर्यन की डिसेंडेंट्स नहीं रहते, ऐसे लोगों को, ऐसे रेसेस को सबसे नीचे रखा गया था. उनमें आते थे आपके जिप्सीज, पीपल कॉन्स्टेंटली ऑन द मूव, द ब्लैक्स, ठीक है, कई सारे माइग्रेटेड अफ्रीकन्स वहां जाकर रहते थे, रशियंस को भी मान लिया था, पोलैंड के लोग, पोल्स, ठीक है, एंड इवन सर्टेन जर्मन्स. आप देख सकते हो हाउ फ्लॉड दिस थ्योरी इज, बिकॉज इफ जर्मन्स वर नॉर्डिक आर्यंस, हाउ कुड दे बी प्लेस्ड? हाउ वर दे डिसाइडिंग विद जर्मन्स? बेसिकली द मेंटल एंड फिजिकली चैलेंज्ड पीपल, जिनको मेंटल और फिजिकल चैलेंज था उनको, ठीक है. जर्मन्स में किसको अगर पूछा जाए, these were the people targeted. If they were the fittest by race, it doesn't matter what they were, they shouldn't have been targeted. So it clearly shows that it's completely based on external appearances and has no backing. कोई scientific backing इस चीज की नहीं है. They would also discriminate based on the qualities, instance physical and mental abilities, as I have told you. Apart from that, कुछ और Germans को भी इन्होंने टारगेट में लिया हुआ था. तो ऐसे करके इन्होंने डिसाइड कर लिया कि आपके कौन कौन से लोग जो हैं वो यहाँ पे फॉल करेंगे, who all will fall in this criteria. Now this theory that Hitler came up with was inspired by some science. ऐसा नहीं है कि पूरा तुक्का लगा दिया. हाय इश्की, वेलकम टू द सेशन. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि पूरा तुक्का लगाया था बच्चों, थोड़ा सा जो है साइंटिफिक थ्योरीज थी, जैसे कि कुछ साइंटिस्ट थे, चार्ल्स डार्विन, हर्बर्ट स्पेंसर. They had given your ideologies, ideology of natural selection and ideology of the theories, or not ideology, the theory of natural selection and theory of survival of the fittest. Natural selection क्या कहता है? नेचर अपने आप से चूज करेगा किसको आगे बढ़ाना है. The nature will itself pick based on the fitness and the survivability, who will actually be surviving in the nature. And the same idea was, similar idea was of the survival of the fittest, that in a group, whoever, it doesn't matter if you're the same in animals of the same breed, or in humans the same race, अगर आप fit हो, if you're the fittest of all, you will survive, because it's a constant competition of survival, और जो भी सबसे ज़्यादा fit होता है only remains alive. So with that idea, these theories, this is how these theories have helped in understanding that how complex organisms have evolved from simple organisms, right? That how pehle only microorganisms existed, and how we have evolved into humans and animals and big plants, and how they function, how they survive in general, how have they survived for so long and evolved with time as well. So these theories help us to understand these things. But what this guy did was, this guy further went ahead and took these theories and manipulated it as per his requirement. अपने हिसाब से तोड़ मड़ोड़ दिया. He broke it as per his requirement. That's why we call his theory pseudo-scientific, because it has some science behind it, but not the all of it which it exactly meant. What he does is, he goes ahead and says that these theories are nothing about human intervention. This is the fact. जब हर्बर्ट स्पेंसर और चार्ल्स डार्विन ने आपकी बात की इन थ्योरीज की, when they gave these theories and ideas and studies, everything, they never said that humans have to interfere for this to happen. What they rather said was that nature will do that selection, है ना, nature अपने से कर लेगा. But what does Hitler say? Hitler took these ideologies and then changed it as per his convenience, how it would suit him. And he went ahead to say that when the nature is going to do this ultimately, why should we wait? Why don't we do it on a human level by intervening in the nature's course, in the course of the nature? जो होना ही है, whatever is supposed to happen, why don't I take the charge and make it happen now, instead of nature taking so much of time, people suffering so much? So that is what he did. And he believed that those races, gypsies, blacks, Russians, Poles, Jews, everyone, he took these races and believed and started believing on his own. Uska bhi koi backing nahi hai that these races in fact were not the fittest. He believed Aryans were the fittest, so their descendants were the fittest, and hence he started saying that they were unfit for survival. They will not be able to make it in the future. So we should start rather eliminating them, and he would call them the impure or not so pure souls. The purest race was considered to be Aryans. So anyone except for the Aryans were not allowed to live according to him. Now, he also came up with a concept called Lebensraum or the living space. ठीक है, एक और कॉन्सेप्ट लेकर आता है ये बंदा. क्या कॉन्सेप्ट है? तो Lebensraum या लिविंग स्पेस का कॉन्सेप्ट है ये. इसका मतलब क्या है? He considered Aryan race to be the most superior. We know it. That's point number one. Another thing that he believed was that Aryans should not sustain their purity by getting stronger and conquering the globe. Okay? Which means if Aryans are the purest, the other are the unfit. They are not the purest one. They are rather impures. Okay? So they will not be able to survive. So why should Aryans stay back in limited resources and just try to make their living somehow when the others have to be eliminated in the future? They should rather use their power. They should rather use their strength, okay, in order to get more stronger. And how would you do that? By conquering other people, by taking up more spaces, more resources, and using it for your survival and your betterment, because others, even if they use it, will not last longer. So nature जो करेगा वो करेगा. We are also going to do that by human intervention. So this is what we say कि human intervention हुआ है. This is how he was intervening, right? This is on a level of human intervention. क्या रे जो जिसको belong करता है वो लोग रहेंगे ही नहीं आगे, उनसे ले लो, अपने लिए रखो, क्योंकि तुम्हें काम आएगा. ठीक है? तो that was another way of human intervention. Elimination was a second way of human intervention. इससे पहले कि नेचर एलिमिनेट करे, हम ही एलिमिनेट कर देते हैं. लेट्स किल देम आउट, लेट्स रिमूव देम फ्रॉम द सोसाइटी. सो बियॉन्ड रेशियल सुप्रीमेसी ही ऑल्सो बिलीव्ड इन अ जियोपॉलिटिकल कॉन्सेप्ट कॉल्ड लेबेंसरॉम, जिसका मतलब क्या था? लिविंग स्पेस. सो वन आइडिया ऑफ डूइंग दैट वाज ऑफ कोर्स अचीविंग दिस प्योरिफिकेशन ऑफ द सोसाइटी एंड ओनली लेटिंग द फिट race survive. But the second point was also creating a geopolitical supremacy, which means being strongest in the world, in the entire continent, in the entire country, everywhere. So that was another agenda of doing this. So that is how he started creating the living spaces, which was also named as Lebensraum. So what does this exactly mean? Hitler wanted to continuously expand his home country's territories, grow stronger, go bigger, conquer everything, take revenge of the First World War, eliminate everyone who was not a Nordic Aryan. So he started stretching his boundaries of Germany, taking lands of his neighbors. आसपास के जो भी लोग थे उन सबकी जमीन हड़पने लग गया, conquer करने लग गया. He wanted to bring all Germans together in one location. So guys, थोड़ा ऐसी बात है कि Germans were staying in Germany, but they were also scattered here and there. What he wanted was, I will create as big a land that all the Germans, instead of staying in different parts of the world and being scattered, can come together and stay in one place. We'll create a living space for them where they can aram se survive. They don't have to fight for their survival. We will support them in creating this. And as a result of this, Poland had to bear the worst of this expansion. The worst effect happened and fell upon Poland. So what will they do? They will conquer Poland, take it over. Okay? So now we'll understand that how they started implementing, how they started executing all of this. Okay? Ankush, hi, good evening. Ishki, koi baat nahi bache. You have not really missed anything. Okay? Ma'am, who were race experts? It was just a group of scientists that he had hired who would say that, yeah, we understand, who would study races, who would have some knowledge of it, but they were mostly the people who wouldn't be in agreement with Hitler. If they would not be, they would be killed. You know that, right? So race experts were basically a group of scientists who had some knowledge of the science. Okay? Why was he so merciless? अब इसका तो कुछ नहीं कह सकते लेना. He was the way he was. What was Hitler's view on Indians? See, Indians के साथ ज़्यादा कुछ है नहीं. There's not like a lot of study. Even I have actually not ever read a lot of detailed information about, like, I've not done that. So I will not be able to provide you a lot of enlightenment, throw a lot of light on that piece. However, Gandhiji, when World War II was happening, did write a letter to Hitler to try to explain him to not do this, give suggestions. He did not listen to that. And in general, Indians are said to be descendants of Aryans. So they were probably not at the top of the list, but they were also not at the bottom of the list. Okay? There is no racial science as such, Elena. The studies and the discoveries and the theories that you build related to different races, their descents, where they came from, what is the reason how people look like, where are the genetic sciences coming up from, genetic science ka study, all of that falls under racial science if you have to define as such. Okay? Why did Germans support Hitler? Gauranshi, that's what I told you. We'll be discussing that in the rest of the chapter. In today's, some of it in today's session, some of it in tomorrow's session. I mean, the next session. Okay. So Nazis came into power and quickly began to do whatever they wanted to do of, you know, creating a pure community of, a racial community of pure Germans, which is the Nordic Aryans. So they started physically eliminating anyone who was undesirable. What do we mean by undesirable? People who belong to the bottom of the hierarchy. जो भी उस हायरार्की में नीचे आते थे उनको undesirables, that they're not desired people, they don't need to be here. So they wanted a society where only healthy Nordic Aryans could sustain, and that is the people who were considered as desirable. Everyone else was rather considered as undesirable. Okay. So Aryans were seen worthy of living, worthy of multiplying. You understand this? This is very serious and important for us to understand. सिर्फ आर्यंस ही ऐसे थे जिनको ऐसा माना जा रहा था कि यही सिर्फ जीना डिजर्व करते हैं, only they deserve to live, rest everyone should be killed, everyone else does not deserve to live. So they wanted Germans who, anyone who was impure or abnormal, they had no rights to exist. They should just die. If that's not happening on its own, we will do it for them. Everyone, like gypsies, blacks, Russians, Poles, Jews, mentally, physically disabled people, we have already read the list. So in order to do that, they even started something called euthanasia program. This was majorly for the disableds. ठीक है, disableds के लिए ये ज़्यादा किया था. Euthanasia क्या होता है बच्चे? Euthanasia is the process where basically if someone has been very ill, normally right to life दिया जाता है, right to life is given to everyone. That is why also suicide is kind of considered against the law, because everyone has the right to live. So if someone is trying to kill themselves, they are kind of breaking the right to life वाला law, और इसीलिए वो suicide को illegal माना जाता है. तो वैसे euthanasia में क्या होता है, ये बहुत जगह laws बने हुए हैं. If someone has been ill for very long period of time, they don't have the will to live, it doesn't make sense for them to survive, because they're more of, let's say, they cannot move, they cannot do anything. Their survival in itself is a punishment for them. Such people a lot of times would desire or choose to die. They wouldn't want to live like that with the medical support, etc. उसको euthanasia कहते हैं, where willingly people want to end their life. They started this program. And let me tell you, this was more for the disabled and everyone else, right? But the problem was these people did not really want to die. But they said, nay, they want to die. It is for their betterment. It is to free them from their punishment, their shackles of surviving and living such a life where they are constantly, you know, strained. So Nazi officials condemned to death many Germans who were considered disabled. तो जो भी disabled है उसको लिया और उसको मार दिया euthanasia program के नाम पे. They started a proper program. They started calling people that we are freeing you from your punishment. We are freeing you from your problems. So not only Jews, but a lot of gypsies and blacks were also considered inferior, we know, right? So they were also persecuted. They were also killed. They were also eliminated. Even Russians and Poles were considered subhumans and hence undeserving of any humanity. So even they were being targeted and they were being killed. So on that note, let's quickly answer this question. Many gypsies and blacks living in Nazi Germany were considered as racial inferiors. Is this true or is this false? Gypsies and blacks were considered as racial inferiors. सही है या गलत है? राजेश, perfect answer, perfect timing, congratulations. Agastya, Elena, Gauranshi, Shubhra, Tarun, Tushant, good job. All of you have also answered correctly. Shrivari has not answered. Shrivari, कर दो answer बच्चे, ठीक है? और meanwhile, we'll look at the answer in 3, 2, 1 and 0. The correct answer is yes, it is true, right? These were the people on the list. And they were being punished or treated not so humanly. Now, Jews were the people who in fact suffered the most. They were the biggest and the most, they were at the top of the list of the arch enemies after the communists and everybody. But racial hierarchy में Jews के पीछे ही थे बिल्कुल हिटलर, ठीक है? So they remained the worst sufferers. Hatred was created over the entire nation against Jews by propagating the idea of Nazism. Okay? It was said that they were the precursors of the traditional Christian hostility towards Jews. So let's understand, break this down and थोड़ा सा history समझते हैं. Religiously बच्चे ऐसा कहा जाता है that the Jews and the Christians come from the same root. Both of them actually worship Jesus Christ. या मतलब ऐसा होली स्पिरिट जो भी बोल लो, मुझे इसमें एग्जैक्टली टर्मिनोलॉजी में नहीं पता है तो वहाँ नहीं जाऊँगी, बट सेम गॉड को वर्शिप करते हैं, वहाँ से आइडिया शुरू होता है, दोनों सेम जगह से डिसेंट करते हैं. थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस ये है, स्लाइट डिफरेंस दैट एग्जिस्ट ओवर देयर इज, इट इज़ बिलीव्ड दैट क्रिश्चियंस बिलीव दैट आफ्टर जीसस क्राइस्ट को जब मार दिया गया था, आफ्टर दैट ही रीसरेक्टेड आफ्टर 3 days, 3 दिन के बाद वो वापस आए थे स्पिरिट के फॉर्म में. लेकिन ज्यूज ऐसा मानते हैं दैट दैट हैज़ नॉट हैपेंड एंड दे स्टिल वेटिंग फॉर इट टू हैपन. तो वहाँ पे एक रिलीजियस बैरियर आ गया. सो काइंड ऑफ द क्रिश्चियंस एंड द ज्यूज बिकेम एंटाई विथ ईच अदर बिकॉज ऑफ सम क्लैशेस विद द रिलीजियस व्यूज. इसकी वजह से कई सारे आपका मतलब हिस्टोरिकली इफ यू सी अ लॉट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स हैव हैपेंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट. ठीक है, ओके तरुण, ठीक है. So because of that, a lot of historically events have happened, mishaps have happened where Jews and Christians have fought because of the religious different views and perceptions. So now over here, Germans were mostly Christians or of the belief what Jews were not of. So एक ऐसा message spread कर दिया गया that everything that traditionally has been done against the Christians, the Jews have been the root cause for it. So they are the culprits for something that historically had happened. Maybe Jews have been root causes of a lot of things back in the past, back in the history. But not all Jews, right? And that didn't make sense for them to kill all the Jews. But it was just one theory, one way of spreading hatred, and they kept on using it, kept on doing that. As a result of which, they killed the Jews and targeted them. Not just that, they were also stereotyped as usurers. Usurers क्या होते हैं? Loan sharks, people who give loans. I explained this to you in the previous session, right? The Jews were mostly the big businessmen. So as a result of which they would also hand over loans and they would also charge a lot of interest. Informal तरीके से जब आप ऐसा करते हो, even in India, irrespective of who is doing it, people who give loan in an informal way, they charge a lot of interest, which naturally troubles the person who is borrowing. The borrower gets troubled. तो ऐसा कह दिया गया, Jews were natural, stereotyped. They were stereotyped as usurers, people who were like loan sharks who wanted to feed on the money and the lives of other people. Until medieval times, they were barred from owning land. ठीक है, they lived in separately marked areas called ghettos. तो अपनी जगह लेने से बंद कर दिया गया, उनको ghettos में बंद कर दिया गया. They were a lot of times killed through periodic organized violence and expulsion from the land. So they would first be removed from the German land, put into these isolated ghettos, concentration camps. Camps were built outside, away from the entire society. And they were put in there. वहाँ पे torture भी किया जाता था, धीरे धीरे मारा जाने भी लग गया in a very strategic way. There was a proper structure of stages created. We'll talk about that. So Hitler's hatred for Jews was based on this pseudo-scientific theory only. And then his hatred of the religion barrier, of the difference between Christianity and, of what the Jews believed. It could be solved only through their total elimination is what he started प्रोफेसिंग, ही सेड कि जब तक वो नहीं जाएंगे हमारी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं होगी, तो इनका मरना जरूरी है. So from 1933 to 1938, the Nazis terrorized, pauperized and segregated the Jews, compelling them to leave the country. So first he started, haunting them, targeting them, hunting them, then haunting and then hunting. So they were trying to save their lives. So when you have read the diary of Anne Frank, you have seen they fled to Amsterdam. But at that time, Amsterdam was actually not under the control of Germany. But slowly when they started expanding, they took over Amsterdam as well. So even the people who were running away from Germany, nearby areas of Germany, when those areas also started getting conquered, even they were killed, even they were targeted, even they were hunted down. So in the very first phase, they found them, they isolated them from the society. In the next phase, they took them to these concentration camps where eventually they were killed in the gas chambers by making them making them exposed to the poisonous gases. They also occupied Poland. ठीक है, पोलैंड को भी डिवाइड कर दिया, which was the northwestern Poland that was annexed by Germany. Poles were forced to leave their homes and properties behind so that spaces for Germans could be created, so that Germans could stay there, because they were the people who deserved, they were the fittest, they were at the top of the racial hierarchy. Poles were not. They did not deserve to have their homes. They did not deserve to live. They were forced out from their own places. It was occupied by the ethnic Germans who came from Europe. And then they were forced to leave their homes and live in general government. General government क्या है? बताते हैं. Polish intelligentsia targeted for extermination to keep the population submissive. This is an important point for us to understand. Normally, a country evolves when the smart scholars, intelligent people, they become the leaders, and even in a time of difficulty, these are the people who lead. For example, when we were colonized, we had a lot of smart people, scholars who were leading us. Like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, they were smart in their own ways, or a lot of them were scholars who were good with studies, who had a lot of knowledge. And till the point you have such people, even in the most difficult of situation, they navigate you through. जब आपके पास ऐसे लोग होते हैं, मार्गदर्शक होते हैं, जो स्मार्ट होते हैं, पढ़े लिखे होते हैं, नॉलेज होता है, वो आपको बड़ी से बड़ी परेशानी में निकाल कर ले जाते हैं. वो आपको इंस्पायर करते हैं. They keep inspiring you. They give you the will to fight. That is why those kind of people from the Polish population which was occupied, जहाँ पे ऑक्यूपाई किया गया था पोलैंड को, वैसे सारे लोगों को जिसको हम इंटेलिजेंशिया के नाम से टर्म कर रहे हैं, those group of people, उनको पहले हटा करके एलिमिनेट कर दिया. They were eliminated because if there would be no leaders, the crowd would just be scared. They would have no inspiration, no will to fight, just a fear in their heart which was instilled against Hitler, against Nazism. ठीक है? And they will be very submissive. They will listen to whatever would be told to them. They would have nobody to show them the right path, to show them the light, to inspire them, to take away the fear. So those people were cleaned out first. Then the next worst part was that parents, there were a lot of parents who had children. Children were separated from the parents. बच्चों को अलग कर दिया गया. Children who looked like parents, who were like Polish in their features, उनको उनके पेरेंट्स के साथ जाकर पनिश होने दिया. बट चिल्ड्रन हु हैड इवन स्लाइट बिट ऑफ रिजेम्बलेंस टू दैट ऑफ अ नॉर्डिक आर्यन, कोई भी बच्चा नॉर्डिक आर्यन जैसे दिखा कि ब्लॉन्ड आईज, blonde hair, blue eyes, of white skin, features sharp, they would separate them from their parents and do a test on them by the racial experts. The experts would define that whether they were Aryans or not. ठीक है, अगर उन्होंने वो टेस्ट पास कर लिया तो they were put in foster homes with German families. They were still separated from their parents. They would be sent to German families that, अरे, he's a pure raised person, you raise it, somebody who deserves it. So German families would adopt them and make them grow along with their family. But if they were found not to belong to the pure race, then they were put into concentration camps. ठीक है, orphanages में उनको डाल देते थे, which is so sad. They were not even sent back to their parents. And there they would either die of starvation or some torture or maybe doing excessive work, etc. So Polish was the only community that suffered in Nazi Germany. Is this true or is this false? Was it just the Polish who were suffering in the Nazi Germany, or were there others? तारुण ले तो रहे थे, इंग्लैंड तो देखो ज्योग्राफिकली इज एन आइलैंड इन द वाटर्स इटसेल्फ. फ्रांस का भी कुछ एरिया लिया था. करेक्ट एलेना, दोज आर द स्टेजेस. ठीक है, तो आई थिंक सबने जवाब दे दिया है, सही भी दिया है. अगस्त, एलेना, गौरांशी, श्रीवारी, शुभ्रा, तरुण, रामू, वंडरफुल. राजेश ने भी अटेम्प्ट लिया है, गुड जॉब. प्रांजल हैज नॉट आंसर्ड, दिस इज फॉल्स. ठीक है, बिकॉज वी नो दैट देयर वर अदर्स आल्सो, है ना. पुलिश के साथ साथ ज्यूज, जिप्सीज, ब्लैक्स, अ लॉट ऑफ अदर्स वर आल्सो देयर. So as I told you, the children who were not found to be pure raised were put in orphanages. General government had some largest ghettos and gas chambers. Jews faced mass extension in the killing fields of the general government. तो ये जो general government उन्होंने create की थी, hi नैतिक, welcome to the session. वहाँ पे ही ले जाकर के ये पूरी mass killing होती थी. Now what was the system? It was in 3 phases, okay. The very first phase was of exclusion. Exclusion means what? To remove, to exclude, to remove from the rest. So the very first thing they said that, hey, Jews or other people, undesirables, you don't deserve to live in this society. You're the impurest, you're the worst, you don't deserve to be between us. So we will identify you. And in order to limit our interaction with you, ये इंश्योर करने के लिए कि हम तुम्हें पहचान ले, तुमसे बात ना करें, तुम्हें दूर रखें, we will give you an identification mark. So they were asked to wear a yellow star to be identified as Jews. And then nobody would interact with them, do business with them, probably sell things to them, food and all. तो पहले सोसाइटी में रह रहे थे, they were staying in the society but they were excluded. So people who were only people of German or related blood would now be German citizens. The rest of them were not even considered to be German citizens. Marriages between Jews and Germans were forbidden. It had become illegal. Any extramarital affair, if would happen, it would be treated as a crime. Which means anyway, if a Jew and a German would try to connect with each other, would be against the law. And they were forbidden to fly the national flag. Matlab, they were not considered as citizens. They were removed as a part of the German society. That was the first step. Okay? Other legal measures, if you talk about boycott of Jews' business, they were removed from, if anyone was working in any government service, they were removed from that. They were forced selling and confiscation of their properties. They were forced that this is your house, you can't have a property, you sell it to me. और इट वॉज जस्ट स्नैच्ड अवे फ्रॉम देम, या तो उनसे सीधा सीधा छीन लिया जाता था. ठीक है, नवंबर क्रिमिनल बच्चे वाइमार रिपब्लिक को बोला जाता है, जिन्होंने ट्रीटी ऑफ वर्सली साइन की थी. फर्स्ट सेशन में हमने डिस्कस किया. बिसाइड ज्यूइश प्रॉपर्टीज वर वैंडलाइज्ड, लूटेड, तोड़ फोड़ देते थे ज्यूज के घर को. लाइक अ लॉट ऑफ हेट क्राइम्स वर हैपनिंग. ठीक है, तोड़ देते थे, उनके पास पैसे हैं तो लूट कर चले गए, घर में कुछ है तो लेकर चले गए. इट वॉज स्नैच्ड अवे. ठीक है, द साइनागॉग्स विच इज द प्लेस ऑफ वर्शिप ऑफ द ज्यूज, दैट वॉज बर्न्ड. ठीक है, men were arrested in a program in November 1938 में. The night is remembered as the night of broken glass because every house was vandalized, it was broken, it was in a very bad situation. So the question is, what were the Nuremberg laws of citizenship of September 1935? Only the Germans or related blood would henceforth be a German citizen. Marriages between Jews and Germans were forbidden. Jews were forbidden to fly the national flag. This, what we have just read, guys, all the details, that is the Nuremberg laws of citizenship. ठीक है, कौन सिटीजन रहेगा और उसको कितने राइट्स रहेंगे, that is what we just read. तो इनमें से कौन सी चीज़ें, कौन सी रूल्स जो हैं वो उसका हिस्सा थी. So we have Gauranshi, Tushant have answered absolutely correct in perfect timing. Good job. Elena, Shubhra, Ramu ने भी कर दिया है. Sasha, Agastya, Tushant, Rajesh, very nice. Answered absolutely correct. Perfect timing. Tarun has also answered correctly. Pranjal बचे हुए हैं. Shrivari ने भी attempt लिया है. Good job, guys. It was all of the above. All of these were the rules of the citizenship. So पहला स्टेज हमने देखा. नेक्स्ट स्टेज क्या है? गिटॉइजेशन. So understand in a very simple manner. First, what they did was they said, fine, you're living around us, but you don't deserve to be a citizen. We'll take away all the social status. You be here, but we'll not give you the same powers, the same rights. No, you will be recognized as somebody who's like more of untouchability जैसे practice की जाती थी. Then the next stage was that, hey, you don't even deserve to live amongst us. अभी तक हम तुम्हें हमारे बीच में रहने दे रहे थे, अब तुम हमारे बीच में नहीं रह सकते. You will have to go stay in a separate place, in an isolated place, away from us. So ghettoization started, which was from 1940 to 1944, where they had no right to live among Germans as citizens or just in general. Everyone had to wear a yellow star of David, as I told you, so that they could be identified. And later on, all their wealth, houses, everything was taken away and they were sent to the ghettos. And finally, the last one was annihilation, which kind of started from 1941 and kept on going till the end of the World War. The third one said that, you know what, you don't deserve to live. Forget living amongst us, forget living away from us, you don't deserve to live on this planet. तो पहले क्या था, तुम रह सकते हो हमारे बीच, बट तुम्हें सेम राइट्स नहीं मिलेंगे, तुम अलग रहोगे. फिर बोला कि तुम हमारे बीच में भी नहीं रहोगे, तुम अलग जगह पे रहोगे. और फिर बोला तुम रहोगे ही नहीं, you will not live only. So in this is known as the final solution. Like the last stage, the Holocaust, the mass killing happened, started over here. People were, Jews from the houses, concentration camps, ghettos, everywhere, they were taken to the death factories where the gas chambers were there. They were exposed to poisonous gas and killed. So in Poland and elsewhere, in the east, most notably your Belzec, Auschwitz, Sobibor, all of these areas that you see over here, gas chambers were created and mass killing took place within minutes with the scientific precision. So in a very scientific way, they would kill all of these people at great levels, like lots of people together were killed. So that brings us to the next question. The process of Daesh forced Jewish people to live in separate neighborhoods in horrible conditions. So ghettos में जो रहना था, उस process को क्या कहते हैं? Communism, Holocaust or ghettoization? What is this process known as? This was the second stage, guys. First stage, we know, was exclusion. They were excluded from the society. Third stage was the last stage, annihilation. The final solution, the Holocaust, which we refer to. बीच में एक stage आता है, उस stage को क्या कहते हैं? What was this stage known as? And Rajesh, very good, perfect timing. And Shubhra also. एलिना, गौरांशी, तरुण, तुष्यंत ने भी सही जवाब दिया है. And I'm glad Agastya has also taken an attempt, waiting for Shivari and Ramu. This stage, they were sent to the ghettos. So this stage, guys, is known as ghettoization. ठीक है, stage को हम क्या कहते हैं? Ghettoization. अब बात करते हैं बच्चों की. How were the youth being treated? What was the method with which they were being treated and why was it happening? Understand, as a child, whatever I am conditioned to, I will start believing it true. If I'm not exposed to the rest of the world, as a child, if you tell me that only killing people is right, only being aggressive is right, only Hitler is right, Hitler is our God, if that's being continuously fed to me as a child, मुझे बचपन में यही सारी चीज़ें अगर सिखाती जाओगे आप, ठीक है, बचपन से मैं यही सुनते बड़ी होंगी, तो when I grow up, जब मैं बड़ी होती हूँ, मुझे यही सही लगेगा और मैं हिटलर की भक्त बन जाऊंगी, वही सारी चीज़ें करूंगी जो हिटलर चाहेगा. That is why it was very important for Hitler to convince the young generation of what he was doing to be the correct thing. And that required a lot of extensive work. इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा काम लगने वाला था, and that's what he got at by starting with the schooling in the Germany. Schools के system को ही restructure कर दिया, पूरा change कर दिया. Entire syllabus was changed, the books were changed, and everything good about Hitler, everything bad about the gypsies and the Jews, everything good about wars and fighting, everything bad about the rest of the world being bad, all of these things were being taught to the children. यही सारी चीज़ें सिखा रहे हैं. हिटलर अच्छा है, Jews बुरे हैं, बाकी दुनिया खराब है, हमारी जर्मनी अच्छी है, तो दुनिया से लड़ने के लिए हमें फाइट्स के लिए रेडी होना होगा. तो फाइट्स, आर्मी में होना, वॉर्स होना, ये सब अच्छी चीज़ें. यही सारी चीजें अब सबको सिखाई जाने लग गई. ठीक है. Then the authorities there didn't get discussed. Taran, I'm not sure what you're asking. If you're asking कि क्या authorities ने कुछ नहीं किया, if that's what you're asking, authority was Hitler, right? So nobody else could have raised any voice. You also have to remember people in Germany, they do not really have a connect from the outside world because media is in their control. What is your connect with the outside world? आपको बाहर भी जो भी हो रहा है कैसे पता चलता है? मीडिया से, सोशल मीडिया और द रेगुलर मीडिया, न्यूज, आर्टिकल्स, सोशल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म्स. इमेजिन इफ योर कंट्री स्टार्ट्स कंट्रोलिंग दैट. मीडिया जो बोलेगी गवर्नमेंट के हिसाब से बोलेगी. ठीक है, आपके पास सोशल मीडिया नहीं है कुछ. How will you get to know what's happening in the world? And then whatever you're being told by the media or the people in your country, you will start believing it. You will have no option. ठीक है. डिजीज तो होती होंगी, होती थी. आपको पूछा, मतलब you'll have to explain me what you're trying to ask. If you're trying to find the answer to the question कि क्या वो बीमार नहीं पड़ते थे क्योंकि वो प्योरेस्ट रेस थे, तो ऐसा नहीं है. बीमार बिल्कुल पड़ते थे, बट हिटलर को कौन समझाएगा ये? He would still be about his scientific theory, right? चलो, तो थोड़ा सा ये इंट्रो देख लेते हैं. मदरहुड को कल करेंगे ज्यादा डिटेल में. यूथ वाला समझते हैं. So he was very much interested in the youth because more the young people would be convinced about him, the easier it would be for him later in the future. आज अगर 10 साल के बच्चे को मैंने कन्विंस कर लिया है एंड लॉन्ग टर्म आई वांट टू रूल, जब वो बच्चा 18 साल का होगा, अडल्ट बनेगा, वो ऑलरेडी मेरा भक्त होगा, वो ऑलरेडी मेरा फॉलोवर होगा. द किड वुड ऑलरेडी बी माय फॉलोवर व्हेन द किड बिकम्स एन अडल्ट. सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर मी टू कन्वर्ट द किड एज अ child, as a young person, right? So he believed in establishing a strong Nazi society by indoctrinating the children. बच्चों को convince करके एक society ऐसी बना दो where they become adults, they will all be supporters of Hitler. So this of course required careful control of what the children were learning, what they were gaining as a knowledge, for them to believe that Hitler was right. So as a result of that, the school were cleansed and purified, which means what? The Jew teachers, the Jew children, okay, gypsies, blacks, all of these undesirable children and teacher were removed from the school. It would just be a school of German, pure Germans. जो desirables थे सिर्फ वो school में होंगे, सिर्फ वो school जाएंगे, ताकि इन बच्चों का शुरू से उनके साथ interaction ना रहे. Why was that important? अगर वो बच्चे आ भी रहे होते तो क्या दिक्कत होती? Then the German children would have seen that they are humans, they are not bad, right? But only when you limit the interaction, when there is a factor of unknown, they don't know what they really are, then they will believe what was being taught to them. तभी वो मानेंगे कि अच्छा ये पढ़ाया जा रहा है यही सही है, क्योंकि हमें पता ही नहीं है वो क्या है. जो मुझे बताया जा रहा है वही सही है. ठीक है. All Jews and everybody else who was politically unreliable, who was undesirable, were removed. German children and Jew children were not supposed to sit together, play together. They had no interaction. They were put in different places. Eventually, Jewish, physically disabled, the undesirables, ठीक है, उन सबको स्कूल से धीरे धीरे निकाल दिया गया. पहले सेम जगह पे अलग अलग बैठाने लगे, फिर निकाल ही दिया कि कुछ पता ही ना चले कि कौन है. Most of these children and their families were eventually sent to the gas chambers, sadly enough, in 1940s, who were being removed from the schools. The children who remained there were taught to be good Germans, कि अच्छे Germans बनो. ठीक है. अब ये कैसे होगा? They will become good Germans by accepting the Nazi ideas, by learning the Nazi ideas. So they were then being exposed to these Nazi ideas slowly. Sports were used as means to instill youngster an attitude of aggression and hatred. तो स्पोर्ट्स में क्या होता है? When you're playing, there's a lot of adrenaline rush, there's a lot of competition. So with that, you're able to build in the head of the children that, hey, you have to fight, you have to compete, hate the other person, be aggressive towards the other person, you have to win at any cost. When you're conditioned constantly like that, when you know that then you have an opponent, eventually when you grow up, the opponents would be the people of other country, the enemies of Germans, the enemies of Hitler, to be honest. You have to fight against them, you have to kill them, you have to defeat them. तो ये स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू यूज करके बच्चों में इंस्टिल किया जा रहा था. बच्चों को यही सिखाया जा रहा था, यही दिमाग में बैठाया जा रहा था कि यही है, दिस इज द रियलिटी. ठीक है. He would teach them boxing. Things like boxing were introduced so that when you keep on fighting, see, people who are in sports, who are in army, they have a different mindset. They become more stronger. They learn to control their emotions because eventually they're conditioned so much. In order to fulfill the jobs that they do, they will have to control their emotions. They cannot feel bad for the other person, otherwise they will not be able to defeat them. So ऐसा sports को introduce कर दिया गया like boxing, where the children would stop feeling emotional connect with the other person or any sympathy or empathy with the other person and will become strong-hearted, iron-hearted, strong, masculine. ठीक है, ये सारी चीजें करी जाने लग गई. Then youth organizations were created. proper organization create करी जाने लग गई जहां पे छोटे बच्चों को पढ़ाया जाता था. ठीक है, वहां पे उनको क्या सिखाया जाता था? स्पिरिट ऑफ नेशनल सोशलिज्म, द स्पिरिट ऑफ हाउ टू बी अ नेशनलिस्ट, जर्मन, अ ट्रू जर्मन. ठीक है, अब यहाँ पे स्टेजेस थे. बिफोर द एज ऑफ 10 देयर वाज समथिंग कॉल्ड ह्यूब फोक. दैट्स वेयर द बॉयज, नॉट द गर्ल्स, बॉयज वर सपोज टू गो, विच वाज अ यूथ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. Once you have finished your age of 10, उसके कुछ दिन बाद तक भी आप इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में रहते थे. A boy would stay. At the age of 14, then they would be moved to Hitler Youth, the Youth League of Nazis, which was eventually known as Hitler Youth. It was founded in the year of 1922. It was acting as a stage of training for all the German boys of age of 14 till the age of 18, so that when they turn 18 and become an adult, then they would move and join army. तो 10 साल तक ह्यू फोक में रहे, उसके बाद जाते थे हिटलर यूथ में after age of 14 properly. 14 to 18 they would stay here and then they would ultimately join the army. Okay. So as Hitler Youth's boys were taught to embrace war, praise aggressiveness and all of these things, it was clear that the target were the undesirables. They generally joined the labor service at the age of 18 after a very rigorous ट्रेनिंग फिजिकली, आइडियोलॉजिकली, मेंटल फिजिकल ट्रेनिंग के बाद बहुत रिगरस एट द लेबर सर्विसेज. They were then sent to the armed forces of the Nazi organization, which is the Nazi army. All other youth organizations were removed. Nothing else could exist. Whatever Hitler had legally, उन्होंने officially place किया था, only their people were supposed to be. And this was done to unite the youth movement under Nazi control, so that everything was under their control. Even if there were other organizations which was trying to profess Nazism, वो भी बंद कर दिया कि नहीं, हिटलर के तरीके से होगा. However, Hitler wants it to be. And an entire generation of Germans were brainwashed into causing harm against others who were different. So now we know where did his supporters come from and how did he come from and how he had so many men constantly fighting for him. But what about the girls? That we'll do in the next session. So quickly summarizing that Hitler felt and imparting Nazi philosophy to the children for formation of strong Nazi society. All the books were changed, Nazi ideologies were taught. The worst part is even problems were framed in such a way that it would target and show Jews as bad people. Hitler believed that boxing might help youngsters to become strong and ready for fights and mentally that was taught to them. Organizations were created to teach the spirit of national socialism. Women wala portion will be doing tomorrow, so please make sure that you are going on the app and registering yourself for the sessions, you guys. In tomorrow's session, we have today seen what was his idea about the men and the women. Propaganda kaise phailaya. Women were playing very important role, but they would suffer a lot. So we have seen that. It was nothing but a sinister attempt to keep women from claiming their equal rights. So in the next session, we'll learn more about this, how women were sent quiet. Do not forget to check out them by Blends and connect with us on our Telegram channel. Okay? So with this, I'm going to say bye to you. Have a great evening. Tomorrow we are not meeting. We're meeting on 3rd of October now because tomorrow बंद है. फिर Saturday, Sunday, then गांधी जयंती. तो मिलते हैं बहुत जल्द. वहाँ उस दिन हम नाजिज्म पूरा finish कर लेंगे. ठीक है? Chalo. So have a great evening, have a great weekend. I'll see you guys soon. Till the next time, stay connected, take good care of yourself and your loved ones, and keep imbibing.
Keep imbibing. We believe in you.